Hey everybody! Welcome to the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Sally Wantz, and they tell me out here in the audience that I'm looking good. Got my Standing on the Side of Love t-shirt, and we are ready to go today. So I am pleased to have special foofers here today. First we start off with Ray over here. He's our sound guy. You're going to show him? There we go. Wave. Okay. And then who can't wave is the guy behind the camera, Jim McDermott. You have to pronounce it correctly, Jim McDermott. And Catherine over here is going to be doing joys and concerns, etc. And then we have other guests who are also guest speakers today. So we've got a wonderful program for you. I'm going to invite anybody who's here today that wants to come forward. We're going to sing Spirit of Life, and we'll play the rendition from Jeff Lovejoy. So come on forward, put your masks on, let's sing Spirit of Life. Are you ready, Karen?
Ready.
Come on. Come on in here.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Love that music. Love that music. So we have a couple of announcements I'd like to share with you. First is we have a fabulous picnic today, August 16th, at noon, right out back. We've had some great success over the last month and a half. We're doing the picnic every other Sunday until the weather no longer permits it. We've got somebody, Catherine's husband, Steve Young, comes and mows it and picks up all the thistles, right? We talked about that last time. And then it's staked out with little flags, so everybody has your little 6-foot circle, so it's nice and protected. Bring your own food, bring your own chair, table, beverage, and bring your sense of humor. Best stories from the past week.
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen's good. So anyone listening to this service and any of your friends, invite them. This is not just closed to a few people, this is open to anybody. If you're listening to this and you're traveling through Florence because you live somewhere else, stop by. The gate's open, right behind Foof. We'll resume with a Zoom happy hour next week at 5 p.m. The link will be sent either on the 23rd, the 22nd or the 23rd, so you can join us for that. And also, been informed that the annual Habitat Beach Walk is going on, which is really fabulous. And Tuvia is all excited, and we'll have something in the blast that you got this morning about that. And he would love for you to join him and others on this Habitat Beach Walk to help those folks who are looking for housing. I mean, that's what it's all about, affordable housing for certain people in this community. So that's fabulous. So the other thing I want to remind you of is the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote nationally on August 18th. 1920. We celebrate this historic amendment on August 26th because this date, 100 years ago, the amendment was actually certified, making it official. So, to celebrate this in Florence, Last Resort Players, commonly known as LRP, is going to present a quote-unquote centennial celebration of women's suffrage. And you are all invited to witness the parade starting at 1 p.m. at Kingwood and Bay Street. They're going to march down Bay Street over to this Salem Pioneer Museum. There's going to be period-type vehicles, music, and the Dancing Divas. If you've never seen the Dancing Divas, you are in for a treat. So at the museum, the John Quay Heritage Players and the Last Resort Players will present excerpts from prominent suffragette speeches, and the music and dancing will continue. Oh, One of the suffragettes will be me. So come see me, wave to me in the parade, and let's have a good time. So, any other announcements? Does anybody here have any announcements? I think we're pretty well covered on them. I'm going to invite Catherine to come forward, and we're going to light our chalice. The words I'm going to give you right now come from Cheryl Block, and it's titled, "In This Sacred Space." In this sacred space, let us be still in the quiet. In this sacred space, let our hearts open as a butterfly's wings. In this sacred space, may the glow of this light shine within us. Blessed be. Catherine, would you like to come forward and share with us some joys and concerns that you know of, and I'll go take care of the shells in the water. How's that? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. In our community, we make time each week to share our lives with each other. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. Even though we're scattered all over right now, every one of you matter. We share our concerns, knowing that together we offer comfort. We share our joys, knowing that our thoughts and voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. If you have something to share, Ray does, okay?
I actually got the other day got the best laugh I've had since this whole COVID thing started. I called a college friend of mine, and her daughter's getting married in October. And of course they had to cancel all their big wedding plans and scale it down to almost nothing. But I found out that they enlisted the aid of an unusual person to perform the ceremony. It's another college friend of ours. He's this great big beer swilling, I mean, picture it, the last person in the world who'd ever be a minister. And he went out on the internet and got himself ordained. And he's actually going to do the service. I fell out of the chair laughing. It's crazy. That's it.
I'm dropping a shell.
Yeah,
right.
So I was just informed also, two joys, two people from our community are recovering from knee surgery. Now, did they go together?
I don't know.
Is this a conspiracy of knees, you know?
I don't know.
It's about
Steve-
sympathy,
It's about empathy, okay. You have to be reminded?
You have to be reminded about sympathy, okay.
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 Stephen Aaronshaw, a meniscus surgery, correct? That's right. That's a joy. And David Dumas, a whole knee replacement.
Oh,
So he was a fireman at one time in his life, so I'm sure he worked those knees very well.
I got two shells.
Very happy that they're recovering nicely.
Yes.
I have one more thing. I saw Bruce Yelly yesterday. Now, I shared last week that he has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Now, two things, though, have happened this week. One is that it has not metastasized to his lungs, which is a joy, He said, though, if it had metastasized to his lungs, he would have been able to get the 6-month right to die thing. So he's not quite there yet. But the really good thing is that you know that he's been up in our Capitol many times trying to expand our death with dignity laws with uneven results. You know, it's been an upward battle at times for him to get heard. But a government official, I can't remember if it was a senator or a representative, is now taking up his ideas for these bills.
Oh,
and he didn't know if it was to pity him because of his recent diagnosis, but he doesn't care. This is his life work, and it's a great legacy. So thank you, Bruce. Thank you.
This is for Bruce.
We do love you. Yes. And I want to just mention, if anyone wants to have anything shared publicly, you know, go to the FOOF website. No, the FOOF email.
Right.
And someone will pass it on to me. Or if you want to talk confidentially, you just need someone to listen. You can call me. My phone number is 831-241-1317. I'm a representative of the care committee, and I will listen. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Not all joys and sorrows can be shared openly. Some can only be shared one-on-one. Some we can only share with our innermost being or our higher self. We recognize that we all don't have the voice yet. So a final shell is dropped for you to acknowledge your inclusion in and with all of us. And so it is.
Thank you. Pause for a moment while we do a little cleaning. Okay. I know, this is important. I'm going to ask Ray to cue up our opening hymn. It's titled "Come Sing a Song With Me." Now, I realize there's not a lot of people here to come sing a song with, but we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us, at least 6 of us have good voices. We might sing along if we know the words, or we might just let Jim focus in on our beautiful painting and let you enjoy the music that Ray is going to now cue up. Come sing a song with me.
Jeff, that was beautiful. Thank you. Our reading for today, Transfiguring Love by Chip Rausch. Deeper than DNA, more fundamental than molecules or quarks. At our living core, we are wholeness and transfiguring love. We often forget that power, becoming lonely and resentful, comparing ourselves to others, or acting out of our fears rather than living our glory. Occasionally, we rouse ourselves from our trance to remember our wholeness. For a time, we embody unsentimental love. We make an effort to wake others and remain fully present ourselves. Our lives and our time here together are made sacred by our striving. For the next 30 minutes, And how about for the rest of our lives? May we be more aware of the spirit of life evolving through and among us. And so it is.
Yeah, pretty soon you're going to hear 4 people talk about their transfiguring life, shall we say. So again, I'm going to turn to Ray and ask that we play this beautiful musical interlude. And it's titled Reflections. It's by Jeff Lovejoy. It's an original piece. And I think it might be befitting our topics for today, the series of This I Believe. So Ray, I'm going to ask that you play Reflections, and Jim, if you would focus in on our geese one more time, and I invite you at home to sit back and relax and reflect on these particular words that Catherine shared. Thank you. That was beautiful. Again, thank you, Jeff. You're such a gift to us. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Karen Earnshaw. I'm going to invite her to come on up front, who will then introduce you to our next speaker, who will introduce you to the next speaker, who will introduce you to the final speaker. So we have 4 foofers today, sharing in a series called This I Believe. And I believe this series was started years ago by our dearly departed friend Walt Staten. He wanted to be able to have an experience where we all can share something about what we believe so we can personally get to know one another on a deeper level. So it's my pleasure to introduce Karen Earnshaw, and Enjoy.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, fellow foofers, and most of all, thank you, Walt. He's in my heart every time we gather here. I'll never forget him. Thank you for asking me to share some of my beliefs. I'm quite flattered and quite surprised that anybody cares about what I believe other than my husband, because he's required to, of course. It's kind of like the Oprah magazine. Every month she has an article on what I know. Okay, this is what I believe in Karen's condensed version of what I know about life in, 4 minutes now. Okay. One thing I know I've thought about life a lot in this quarantine thing, haven't you? I mean, it's been pretty eye-opening to all of us. One thing I will say up front is as I go through life, and it's all kind of important to me now because I'm passing another, in a few months I'll be passing another one of those monumental decades.
Oh.
As my husband said, it's the 3rd anniversary of my 30th year or something like that. That makes me even older than I am, so I don't know. But it's a big one. It's a big one. And I never in my life thought I'd make it this far. But one thing I know about me and in my life is I took life way too serious. And I think we do that way too much. And I don't have time for that anymore. And I think a lot of it is because when I was 16, I had a job doing Boeing payroll. Got out of school early and I went to work and did Boeing payroll, if you can believe that.
Wow.
I ended up spending 50 years in a banking career. And that, as you all know, is my dilemma. You know, bankers are probably the most boring people in the world. So to keep my life a little interesting, I became a clown. And I did a lot of work in King County and in the state of Washington, going to various hospitals, working with Special Olympics and that type of thing. And brought more joy to me, I'm sure, than those little ones that I was around who did that for many, many years. And I'm very grateful I had the courage to do that. But I know that once you put on a mask and you put on a big red nose, you can do anything you want. So every day I act as if I've got that big red nose on. What I know, what I believe in a condensed version is me. I believe in God. I have to believe in God because there's been time in my life when that's all I've had to get me through situations, and my faith is a greater being than I can imagine. And my daddy died when I was in my early 20s. He died way too young. But he did tell me, he said, Carrie, always keep your faith and your humor because there will be times in your life that's all you have. And I can tell you he has proven that to be true so many times. And I know that every time that's happened, I've heard him say, I told you so, I told you so. Your old dad wasn't so bad, was he? So I believe in that. I believe there are many spiritual leaders. I believe in my one God. And I believe I have the most fabulous angels every day watching over me. Some of them look like little Wheaton Scotty, but that's okay. They're there and they protect me. So in a strange way, this dilemma that we've all been put in for way too long now has been very healthy for me. I've been spending time watching my husband because his office is at home, upstairs and downstairs and wherever he wants it to be. Stephen run his business, and I'm amazed at how much that man does for people and how he puts his heart and soul into everything he does for others. I would not have seen that if it wasn't in front of me every day. I've spent a lot of time reaching out to friends I haven't spoken to in a long time since my last high school reunion. Thank God it was last year. I spent a lot of time, you know, doing the normal thing, baking, you know, watching my hair go gray, watching the scales lie to me every day. I spent a lot of time in my backyard. Thank goodness I have a beautiful backyard that's secluded and I can hear the ocean. And saying prayers of gratitude and asking questions, because that's what I do. I ask a lot of questions. So during this time I've been thinking about, how did I get here? How did I get here? I question that a lot. I know many people do. You know those questions. Where am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? Who's going to help me get there? Those are management questions my husband taught me 20-some years ago. But I've always asked those questions in my daily life. These questions in the bigger scope of the universe may not always be answered, regardless of how hard I try to find the answers, or read, or research, or, you know, consult, or think scientists have proven to us. Those questions are not always answered. But I won't stop asking. And if I never find the answers, that's okay. I'll find them next time I come around.
Yes.
I've always been a girl who questioned everything. Asked my poor husband to go on a road trip with me. It can be brutal. It's, you know, like the 5-year-old. Why this? You know, why are the cows all facing the same way? Why this? Why that? Where? How? By the time we have left a city we have visited, even for a day, we know more about it than the people that live there. That's how you go on a trip with the Earnshaws. I know that no one can age well who lets go of the sense of wonder. And that's what this time should be about. We've got the time. I worry should the day come when I have no more questions. Our friend Albert Einstein said, "The important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing." And what that tells me is that the very idea that I question something opens up something new. May not be even where I wanted to go, but the idea that I have questioned something will lead me down a path I never thought of. I think life, my second point is like writing a book. I journal. I know a lot of people here at FOOF too. I don't know if y'all do or not, but I do. And the chapters in a good book are joyful, they're inspiring, they're sad, they're happy, they're full of surprises, regret, and sorrows. Lots of laughter. Please, my book needs lots of laughter. Anything but boring. Remember, this is a big book, okay? And my book isn't about aging, it's about living. Whatever I have left is going to be the best. I always thought taking care of myself was also a gift to others, so nobody else would have to do that. Even when I was little, I took care of me, so Mama didn't have to. But you all know, as we go through life, as proud as we want to be, and strong as we want to be, we do need the help of others. And if I do it well, if I take care of myself well enough, others won't have to, and I'll be there to help somebody else. So spend this time, I ask you to spend this time looking to yourself, trying to nourish yourself, take care of yourself the best way you know how, so you can reach out to other people and help other people the best way you can, how little, how large, I don't care. But there's no better joy than what you give back from helping someone else. That, in my years of volunteerism, has been true over and over again, and I know most of you know that. It's kind of like on the airplane when they tell you to put on your mask first. Yeah, how true that is now, right? Put on your mask first, take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Take care of yourself, but beyond that, as much as you're able, reach out. It's time to nourish yourself. It's time to ask questions, write your story, even if it's a page or a paragraph. I know when my book is done, final page will not say, goodbye, thank you, it's finished, la fin, the end. It will say to be continued on the other side. Thank you. I would like now, I'm anxious, I'm sorry I'm first. I'm way sorry I'm first, but the best part's yet to come. I would like to introduce Jim McDarmon.
Yes.
I can't quite say it like Sally did, but I understand Jim probably has some props too, so I think we're in for a really good next.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, go ahead and start.
I did.
And I'll
I did.
take it off.
I did.
Then you can. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to talk about 3 events in my life that had kind of a paradigm shift in my thinking. A little background. So I'm from this little town in North Carolina, and this photograph here is a picture of me and my best friend at that time, June, and he worked on my grandfather's farm.
which then became my uncle's farm. And I look forward to every summer spending it with June because my dad worked for the Public Health Service and we moved every 2 or 3 years, so I had to make a whole new set of friends. But my friends at the farm, June and the other people there, were consistent in my life. So I would work with June. June's older brother took care of the dairy part, and June and I were doing all the tractor work and things like that. And at noontime, you knock off for about an hour and a half because it's very hot in North Carolina, humid. And I would go home to my grandparents' house for lunch, or I would go over to June's house. His mother was a good cook. And then maybe when I was maybe about 12 or 13, one time I was just at my grandparents' house at noon, and I asked, well, tomorrow can June come have dinner here with us? They didn't say anything. And, you know, when you're a kid, you just accept things. That's just the way things are. And then, this was late 50s, there were a lot of things on TV about civil rights. And then I started realizing why they were uncomfortable with that question. And I became more involved in learning about what was going on in America. I went to college and I was real involved with civil rights, getting arrested, demonstrations. Yeah. And I decided that I didn't want to live in America anymore. I was going to live in Australia, where they treat people fairly, only to find out Australian Aborigines are treated very poorly. But the next event happened on my way there. So I worked in New York City to earn enough money to go to Australia, and I went to Europe first, traveled around Europe, and then I flew from Rome to Sydney. But on the way, something very important happened. Now I know people know that this is not Calcutta, but it's iconic, so I thought this is probably the best thing to think about India. So you can stop on your way and stay days without having to pay extra money. And so I stopped in Calcutta for a couple of days, and I was wandering down the streets, you know, masses of people, cows wandering in the streets, and I saw a clinic, and it was run by nuns who would speak English and Hindi, because they were English and Indian. And I saw one nurse triaging people in to see the doctor, and then another group was queuing up, and there was another nun handing out tablets. And I went and asked her, and she said, oh, we're giving them vitamin A tablets because these kids have nutritional deficiencies, and they end up going blind. And so we give them these pills. And I said, oh, that's great. That's one. And she said, well, you know, it only works in about half the cases, because some of these mothers have walked for a couple of days to come to our free clinic, or they wait too late. And I said, well, could you do something else? She said, oh yeah, we could give them injections, and that's a lot more successful. And I said, obviously, why don't you do that? And she said, well, injections cost 6 shillings. For 60 cents, and they would have 3 injections, less than $2, children were going blind. And that was like a really stunning realization for somebody raised in America. Even though I didn't come from a privileged background, we always had food and basic medical care. The next one was on my way to Australia. So I lived in Australia for 5 years, did a lot of different jobs, mostly teaching, and then I played rugby, and I played rugby with some New Zealanders. They said, oh, you should come to New Zealand. So I went to New Zealand, and worked on the North Island 1 year, then I worked at Outward Bound on the South Island for a year, and then I went to a small boys private school, John McGlashan College in Dunedin. I really liked it there. I was a housemaster. I taught the boys. I had them for rugby, for basketball, and really enjoyed it. But I was there for 3 years. I was getting kind of tired of, I needed to do something else. So one of the boys I taught, his father was the head of the biology department at Utah University, and he said, oh, you should come and do a graduate degree with us. And so I went over there and talked to a lot of the graduate students, and I thought a lot of projects were very interesting, and I thought, oh, well, I think I'll do this. And then on my way back, I stopped off at the bookshop, and I was just browsing, and thought, oh, this book looks interesting, so I think I'll read this. It's by Carl Rogers, who was a humanistic psychologist back in the 50s and 60s, and he basically made me rethink. I used to think, if I knew enough, I could really understand the meaning of life and all that. I just needed to accumulate enough knowledge. And I realized I was missing a very important point, and that is, it's how we feel about ourselves and other people every day. It's even more important. So I ended up going to Otago University, but it was in psychology. And then I came back to the United States, and I did a doctorate, and basically that was my career, teaching young doctors in a residency program, and basically that's how I met Karen. She would come over on Wednesday afternoons when we had psych clinic, and the young doctors would see patients, and we would watch them over closed circuit TV, and then they would come back and present patients to us, and then we would, either go in the room, get more information on the patient if we weren't really happy about the diagnosis, and then talk about a treatment plan that usually included counseling, medication, things like that. So anyway, those are three sort of very dynamic sort of epiphanies that happened in my life that give you a reflection of what my beliefs are. And so it's now my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, who is Xana Robertson.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much for asking me here today. I've done some speaking before in front of audiences, but this one is a little different for me because I'm a trainer by nature, by profession in a lot of my career, but I would just be given a topic and I would just kind of run with it and participate with the audience. This is like, okay, I better write some things down. So, what do I believe? Okay. I believe we are living in a grand illusion of our own making. Wow. How do I explain that in a few minutes? It's challenging. Quantum physics is teaching us about this new discovery. But that's another topic for another day. I was introduced to A Course in Miracles about 30 years ago. Wow, time flies, huh? And I spent many hours reading it, but also sitting in a class or seminar that was conducted by Dr. Kenneth Wapnick, who is the original editor of The Course in Miracles, was handed to him by Helen Schuckman, and he's the one who organized it and got it published. And he's also the leading expert on what it really says. I stuck with it because it resonated with me. Now, right in the introduction of the Course, it says, this is one of many paths. So I took that as, if it appeals to me, then I'm going to go with it, and I did. Even though I struggled to understand it, I stuck with it. So, what is the illusion? Well, we made it all up. It's like we're in a play, and not only are we the main character in the play, we are also the director. And if we have the awareness, we get to be in the audience as well. Oh, and we wrote the whole thing.
Oh.
Another great metaphor for understanding the Course is that it's all a dream. We fell asleep and we're dreaming a dream of separation. Some parts of the dream are quite lovely, but some are like a nightmare. Always about the pursuit of God, or at least some kind of meaning to our lives. And then there's that pesky ego, always telling us that our happiness is out there somewhere, if we're just diligent enough to find it. The Course calls it seek but do not find. That's the part we made up just to keep us distracted by everything going on in the dream or in the play. And what a distraction it is right now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The good news is that there will always be that other voice. You know, it's kind of like that cartoon that we've seen so often depicting the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and we're trying to decide which one to listen to. Well, the Course calls the voice of the angel Holy Spirit. And if we choose to listen to it, it's always telling us to wake up and giving us guidance and directions on how to wake up from the dream. It's like the loving parent who would never shake their child out of a nightmare dream. No, they gently whisper in their ear, "It's okay, you can wake up now. It was only a silly nightmare." And silly indeed to think that we could ever be separated from God, that we are just feeble little bodies that wither and die. Dr. Wapnick said it well when he told us that we think God created us in His image, and then we return the favor. We made Him into a small and judgmental person, sitting up on a cloud somewhere. Some of us did. And we can't really fathom what that creative and loving essence really is. Certainly not a him or a her. So, it's a setup. I devised a whole lifetime of feeling inadequate, and this whole ego-driven life has been packed full of situations and characters that either reinforce this gnawing feeling of separation, or who become those gentle reminders of the true reality of my being. That through forgiveness of myself for ever thinking that I could be separate from God, I will awaken, along with all the characters in my play or in my dream. In my dream, I am convinced that I have lived many lifetimes before this one, and will most likely live a few more before I wake up. Yet again, another topic for another day, reincarnation. So how's your dream going? Mine is one in which I became aware of the synchronicity in my life. I have many examples of this, the most recent being how, after many years of traveling full-time in our motorhome, we decided to stay in this lovely environment. How the selling of the RV and the purchase of our cozy little condo happened so quickly and so seamlessly that we could not doubt for a minute that it was all part of the plan. Little did I know at the time that I would ultimately be settled and comfortable by myself. At this time, my dream is full of sadness and grief for the loss of my dearest fellow dreamer. But it is also full of gratitude for all the reminders that come my way in the form of loving family friends, and this fellowship. Love it. I am reminded by the kind person who rings up my groceries. And I just wish so much that they could see the smile under my mask, the smile of thank you. Or the person that I walk past on my walk who says hello or just nods their head. It's a way of acknowledging, I think, that we are indeed all in this together. I am reminded that I am being gently awakened by that loving presence that tells me there is no separation and that I am in the loving embrace of our Creator back home with God. I will close with a favorite passage from A Course in Miracles. The journey to God is merely the reawakening of the knowledge of where you are always and what you are forever. It is a journey without distance to a goal that is never changed. Blessings and sweet dreams to you all. And it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Karen Hernandez.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I want to hear your other talk. I do. Whatever you want to talk about, put together.
Hi. That's a tough group to follow, Jim and Karen and Dana. So what you get when you do this, I believe, is 4 very different talks. So mine's going to be different than theirs as well. Like many of you, I imagine I too have been interested in an active spiritual life for most of my days. I have participated in some form of organized religion for most of that time. I was raised as a somewhat liberal Methodist. I was never hit over the head with the way things should be. So exploring a spiritual life began without a plan. I started reading things people here and there would suggest to me. So as time passed, I began to read other writings, study other religious traditions, compare different teachings, and really begin to question what I endorsed instead of responding automatically, which is what mainline Christianity usually does, or simply being curious. What I arrived at this point in my life, is not a belief in a dogma of any kind, but more like the UUA principles, a set of core beliefs and values that hopefully guide my thoughts and actions. So here we go. My grandparents were Christian Scientists, so I was exposed to the idea that through prayer we can heal the mind and the body. As a child, I was taught the affirmation, divine love always has met and always will meet every human need. There are many ways of saying this same thing. This is the one I learned. Saying this as an affirmative thought has got me through many rough spaces. I believe many things nourish the soul, and each of us has to discover, or can choose to discover, for ourselves, what those things are. Nourishing the soul is a very important part of mental health. For me, being in nature, the beach, the desert, the forest, reading, cooking, learning, kayaking are ways to nourish my soul. Growing vegetables and flowers also add joy. When Jim and I bought our house here, we were both still working as psychologists. I saw patients and Jim taught. Life can get very ugly and scary for many of us. This is what I heard for 35 years. The pain and the struggle of people just like you and me. While it was an honor to sit with each person and to help him or her confront whatever that pain or sadness was, I also had to live it with them. By the time we retired, my head was full of much of the seedier side of life. Kayaking on Mercer Lake has been very therapeutic. It's a place where I can meet the divine. I believe in the Beatitudes. These are the hopes and prayers of all those who have not had a chance. I believe in justice and equality. And I believe in the 11th commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. One of the ways I nourish my soul is to do something for someone else. I have always found ways to volunteer. I believe that life is a journey. Some of us pay more attention to that journey than others. Each and every experience I have, or each person I meet along the way, enlightens me. I do believe that there are a few bad people in the world. There are racists and sociopaths. There are people who have no conscience. Life can be pretty hard at times, but that is why we are here. Whether it be foof, in a town, or at the Rotary, or in a park, to support each other as we walk on this path we call life. I believe that we should love deeply and also learn how to let go when that love is no longer productive. I think nothing is a guarantee in life and that we have to work at gaining meaning from our existence. I believe we can choose to be happy. This is easier for some of us than others. But happiness is a state of mind. It is not a reward for doing something or being someone. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Simple words, tough to do. Lastly, I believe in gratitude. To be grateful for the little things I have is more productive than the things that I don't have. Let me count my blessings. I count each and every one of you as my blessings. I would like to thank Karen Earnshaw, Jim McDarmon, Xana Roberson for being willing to get up here and share 5 minutes of themselves. I have to agree with all of them. It's an interesting exercise and one that I would challenge everybody in our group to do because it is truly a time for reflection. Thank you.
Wow.
Don't we have wonderful people in this
Wow.
congregation?
Wow. I'm just saying.
So impressed.
Thank you, each one of
You know what
you.
I see right now? I feel like I'm looking through a kaleidoscope.
Looking through a
Those
kaleidoscope.
beautiful prisms and lights and
Yeah.
right here, just right here.
That's right.
You know, it's interesting, those of you who are watching us, right? We're taping this on a Friday afternoon. It's sunny outside, it's beautiful, and we have so many people in here who are willing to share their essence, to share their stories. It's absolutely fabulous. I'm absolutely humbled to be a part of this, and I thank you very, very much. And if you who are listening want to be a part of this extraordinary adventure in the future, we will make room for you. We will absolutely make room for you. We will challenge you to come forward, right? To talk about what it is you believe. Ray and I had a conversation about this last night. It's an opportunity to really bare your soul and become something different and become someone else and become, not someone else, but let people know who you really are. So thank you. Thank you for whoever orchestrated this. Karen, thank you. Really appreciate it very, very much.
And thank you, Walt.
And thank you, Walt. Yeah. Jennifer and I did, I think, the first in the series of this, this I believe, and that was like 4 years ago. It's a very humbling experience,
Yeah.
and very pleased to be a part of it. So thank you. So, at this time, we move on to our offertory. Our community partner for July and August is KXCR, and your donation to help support them will be appreciated. We're off to a good start this particular month, and I think it was because Larry Bloomfield was here last week and actually gave an in-person accounting of what KXCR is up to, and I think that really meant a lot to the people watching. So we want you to keep those donations coming. We appreciate it. You can mail your contributions to FOOF, to our P.O. Box 2502, or you can click on the donate button on the website. And you can designate how much you want to give to FOOF and how much you want to give to KXCR, and we'll make that happen for you. Many of you already do that. That's a wonderful thing. Or when you come to the picnic this afternoon at noon, we have our drop box. If you'd like to make your contribution or payment, you can do it at that time as well. So as we move forward on our offertory here at FOOF and in your home, I invite you to repeat after me. Divine love through me
Divine love through me.
blesses and multiplies all that I am,
Blesses and multiplies all that I am,
all that I give,
all that I give,
on all that I receive.
and all that I receive.
I am prosperous now, blessed be.
I am prosperous now, blessed be.
It's true. So thank you. We're going to extinguish our chalice and ask Catherine to come forward. This is by Maddie Cefantis, and it's titled, We Keep Its Light in Our Hearts. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Blessed be. So we have come to the end of another recorded Sunday service. I shouldn't tell you how much I'm liking this, but it's kind of fun. And you know at home you can repeat and play this over and over again, right? And you can fast forward through me, but do not fast forward through the 4 speakers we had today. Between Karen and Jim and Zana and Karen, you've got to listen to it again and again. This is what we're all about at FOOF. So I invite our friends to come back up. Ray's going to cue our peace song played by Jeff Lovejoy. We're going to take it away and bring it home with our peace song. So come on up, folks. Thank you, Ray. Ready? In harmony?
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With love as our center,